Welcome to a video that no one asked for, but I'm gonna make anyway because it's Winx Club time. Before we actually get into the meat and potatoes of this whole video, because I took notes. Oh my god, I ripped the page. Disclaimer, this is gonna be a really long video, so use the bathroom, sit back, relax, get some snacks, get some drinks, and just listen to me rant about this show. Also, I'm really passionate about this topic. I'm such a fan of the original cartoon. I'm an OG fan. So you know what? I might get loud and I might scream about certain things. So if you're not ready for that, I'm sorry. Also, I might swear here and there. So if I drop the F-bomb, prepare yourself. Also, yeah, and if you hear me like fade away from the mic, it's because I'm holding the mic instead of having it in the stand because I need to scream directly into this mic. And also, it sounds better this way to me. So, and also I keep like turning my head for some reason because I'm stupid. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get on to the video. So, hi, my name's Tayo. I'm a closeted Winx Club fan. The reason why I say closeted is because I always got made fun of for liking the show when I was younger and all that. Like any friend group I had, if I brought it up, I've been like, they would make fun of me because I like a show about fairies. Yeah. But my friend group right now, love them to death. I love you guys. I'm sorry I keep talking about the show. They didn't make fun of me when I would rant about the show, especially my friend Spencer, because we'd be playing Dead by Daylight and I'd be screaming in his face about how much I like the show and like just telling him about the lore and everything of like the entire series. So now this is where it all starts. Me and my friend Spencer, we binge watched the show 2 nights ago. I made a bunch of pretzel bites, stuffed them with cheese, and we watched the show. The show is 6 episodes long. It's 50 minutes each, so theoretically it should take us 5 hours and 10 minutes to watch the whole show in one sitting. It took us 8 hours to watch it because I kept pausing it to scream and explain the lore and how it's different and how it's not canon at all or similar to the original canon. FYI, I'm going to be using the word canon a lot. When I say the word canon, I'm referring to the cartoon. So for anybody so that you're following along. Going into the show, I'm 100% biased. My friend Spencer, he has seen it when he was younger, but he doesn't really remember everything, so he's going in 50-50, so he's gonna be kind of like the devil's advocate for the situation. He's not here to do the recording with me, but you know what? I asked him for his input and stuff, and he only said 2 things, so we'll get to that later when we talk about that character. Me, on the other hand, I'm going into this completely biased because the show does a horrible job of betraying the girls and like rewriting them to be completely different. Like the girls that we see on the screen are nothing like the original girls, and I will get into that in a second. I've taken notes and made bullet points of how I want to go about this, so let's go into the summary about both shows. Okay, first I'll be talking about the plot and the summary of season 1 of Winx Club. For the cartoon, and then I'll do the reboot. Also, I will be only showing screenshots and pictures of like the shows because I'm not putting clips of the show and everything into it because 1, I don't have the clips of the videos, and also 2, Netflix has been copywriting and copyright claiming people who have been showing clips of the show, even though it's fair use, but I can't do anything about it, so I'm only going to show screenshots because I'm not trying to get copyright claimed because this video is going to take me like 10 days to record. Also, I'm probably going to do a poor job of explaining like certain things and verbalizing how I feel. I will be linking down below reviews that other people have done of the show. They do a really good job of explaining the good, the bad, and the ugly of the reboot and of the original. I will link down a lot below, so go and check out the videos. I will also leave a playlist of, I believe her name is the Unicorn War on here on YouTube. She does like the whole like history of Winx Club, so I would recommend checking out those videos if you can. So I'm gonna give a quick little synopsis of the original cartoon and how it goes. I'm going to be referring to the show has been dubbed by different companies before. for like the first 4 seasons, I know 4Kids did it, Rainbow did it, and Rainbow's the original company, and Nickelodeon has also did it. I will be referring to the Rainbow dubbed for the purpose of this video because I've rewatched the Rainbow dub recently. I haven't watched the Nickelodeon dub. They changed it a little bit. The 4Kids, they make it more aimed towards kids when it's the first early seasons aren't really aimed towards little kids and like girls and stuff. It was mostly aimed for everyone. But anyway, the show starts off, Bloom wakes up and she thinks she's late for school, but it's summer vacation. Her mom wakes her up, blah, 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 all that stuff. And then they have a surprise for her. Basically, they hinted that she got like a different mode of transportation. So this transportation, they thought it was like a car or like a little scooter, so you know, her dad got her a bike. So she ends up taking her bike, gets bullied by Mitzi on the way to the park. She brings her little blue bunny Kiko with her. She goes, she's eating an apple, and then she runs into Stella, who is fighting a goblin. And while they're fighting, Bloom comes in and tries to help and protect her, and ends up finding out that she has magic. Stella tells her, hey, you're a magical creature. You're a fairy. And she's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, what do you mean a fairy? I'm not a fairy, I am a human. And then the whole first episode basically goes around showing Stella talking to Bloom, being like, hey, you're a fairy, you should come to Althea. It's a college for fairies, so you can hone your magical abilities and learn how to use magic properly. And telling her parents, being like, this is weird, blah, 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 how is she a fairy? This makes no sense whatsoever. And now the reason why Stella was getting attacked by a goblin was because the goblin was being controlled by these 3 witches who are known as the Trix. And the reason why they were trying to attack her and stuff is because they wanted her ring of Celeria. The ring of Celeria was a gift bestowed upon from the dragon flame. It has essence of the dragon flame in it. So yeah, the dragon flame created the magical universe and is like the center of the magical dimension. So it's the strongest, basically the strongest thing in the entire universe. So the 3 witches were trying to get a hold of it because it has essence of the dragon flame so that they can use that power so that they can get stronger. But then they find out that it doesn't have that much power. It has like a little essence. It's not enough to make them strong. But they have these little trinkets that are showing them where the dragon flame is. And then they find out that our girl Bloom is the fairy of the dragon flame. And they're trying to capture Bloom, steal her magic powers and everything. But that doesn't work out. So that's basically the whole plot of season 1 is that the witches are trying to get a hold of Bloom because she has the power of the dragon flame. I'm like listening over to my audio and I sound so boring explaining like the plot. But yeah, the whole season is like these girls, they're dealing with relationships, they're going to school, learning how to get stronger, they're learning more about themselves. A show about girls just having a genuine friendship and like overcoming obstacles in their way. Overall, just a really nice show of fairy friends who are just doing their own thing and problem solving. Basically, I could have just said all of that instead of like explaining this horribly in like 8 minutes. But yeah, so that's basically how the first season goes. Oh yeah, I don't think I need to say this, but just in case, spoiler warnings for the reboot, even though this is a rant about the reboot and it's a review about the reboot. So yeah, spoiler warning. So if you don't want to be spoiled, cover your ears or go watch the reboot and then come back. But please watch the original and then the reboot and then come back. Okay, we're all good? Okay, yeah, okay, good. Now, here's where we talk about the reboot. The horrible reboot. Only reason why I'm saying it's horrible is because it doesn't go, like, align with the original canon at all. Like, literally, it's just nostalgia baiting. It's just trying to get older fans who loved the show growing up and changing it, making it more edgy and dark. Well, here's the tea. Everything doesn't need to be edgy or dark to be a good show. You can literally have a genuine adult show that's aimed towards the young adults and an older audience, with it being happy and colorful and like just happy and colorful. Everything doesn't need to be gruesome and dark. Literally, there's so many shows that are gruesome and dark and drama based that it's at this point, some of them aren't even original. Like, it gets predictable. It's like the same bullshit here and there. Literally, some of the things in the show, and a lot of people agree because I was doing research, a lot of shit in the Winx Club reboot is predictable. It's like, it goes like, there's a lot of cliches that happen in the show. There's just like, and I'm like, it's a loss for words because it just genuinely, oh my god. FYI, I have like kind of bad memory, so I don't remember exactly every minute and every 10 seconds that happens in the show. Well, the first episode at least. But I'm gonna get as best as I can. So basically, the show opens up. There is I believe they're called shepherds who like lead sheep and like raise sheep and all that. There is a barrier that keeps out the burned ones, and one of his sheep goes missing. So he goes looking for the sheep, goes outside the barrier, finds his sheep dead and dismembered because a burned one attacked it. And the burned ones are basically these evil creatures that they're charred, they look like gross. The only thing I can kind of like make it like a comparison is like those creatures from Resident Evil 7, I believe. They're like they look like sludge and like garbage and stuff, but the bird ones like look like stupid, like they're ugly, and also we don't get a clear picture of what they look like because they're always moving around really fast, but they're humanoid creatures. I'll try to put a picture up, like a good picture that I can probably find. They don't really look that interesting. I really don't like the design of them. I will talk more about them later. But basically, the shepherd sees it and he's trying to run to the barrier because the barrier keeps them out. And he gets just to the barrier and then it kills him. But, yeah. So, we already have our main conflict is the burned ones. Now, I just explained the first 30 seconds of the first show, of the first episode. So now, I already paused it and already made like 2 notes already. The barrier in the original canon is a barrier around magics. It's one of the magical dimension. It's to keep non-magical creatures out. So humans and like animals, it's so that they cannot pass through. It's only for magical creatures. The barrier in this show is to keep out the burned ones. And also, my second note was the episode description sucks, or like the show description like sucks. It makes no sense. And then fast forward 5 seconds, we get a little intro clip of Bloom walking to the school, and the camera pans around and zooms in on like the important main characters to be like, ooh, these characters are important, so get a good look at their face because they're important towards the plot. It's really cringy. It like gives me Disney Channel movie vibes, but like in a like weird way. It's like the show is supposed to be gruesome and like dark, and then you're trying to make it makes no sense. Just pick a lane. It just like it just made me and my friend scream laugh because it was like funny, because it was like kind of cringy. Okay, I get it. You have you have 6 episodes and a limited budget to get the whole story written out and everything, to get it like ready to get all information in. But oh my god, it does not execute well, because like they rush story elements and don't take time to unfold it like how the show did. But keep in mind, the show had about 26 episodes per season. This had 6, but they're 50 minutes each. So technically this series had 12 episodes. And there are animes that have 12 episodes, sometimes even less episodes, and they get a lot of plot and information out within those limited episodes. So you have no excuse. They were just trying to like, they barely even developed the characters too. Like me and my friend were talking, instead of like doing like this dumb stuff, like, you know, having a character like smoking, doing drugs, drinking, you could actually, you know, develop your characters. But that's just my opinion. I don't know what I'm talking about. So Sky walks up to Bloom and looks at her and be like, oh, first of all, he's creepy. I already wrote like 3 notes about him because like literally when he opened his mouth, he's not supposed to be like British. My friend Spencer paused the show and looked at me like, he's British? Is he supposed to be British? And then all the other characters talked and we were caught by surprise. I don't know why everyone's British. Why is the overworld like England? And like, it's so funny. But it also like the characters break the fourth wall. Like the creators did a bad job of like trying to keep like the 2 worlds separate, because they basically make it like, oh, the magical world and the real world are like connected, but they're really not. Like they broke the fourth wall. So basically I have 3 things about Sky. The first one I think is about maybe Riven. Riven was walking and I think he was like playing around with a butterfly knife, or he had a wand. Why do you have a butterfly knife in a school setting? Why do you have that knife? Someone please take it away from him. I get it, he's a specialist or whatever, he plays with weapons and all that. Oh, I also have another thing about the specialist, but we'll get there in a minute. So the Sky, also, what are my other things? I said Sky is British. Sky seems like a fuckboy. Sky seems annoying. Sky is weird. Sky rubbed me the wrong way in the first like 5 seconds. Yeah, let me try to like wrap this up because I'm like ranting now. Yeah, Sky is basically like hassling Bloom and like talking to her, be like, oh, you seem lost, like, do you know where you are, like are you a fairy? And she's like, yeah, I am a fairy. And then she's like, oh, I'm weird. And he's like, oh, what realm are you from? Also, apparently like the planets now or whatever are called realms, so I guess to make it more like mystical or something, but it makes no sense. So he goes, oh, what realm are you from? And she goes, California. Okay, now here's my big issue, because I literally screamed. I was like throwing shit too during this video, because I was like throwing stuff at my door. So here's my problem with California, not the actual state. Bloom is from a town called Gardenia. They do end up saying later in the show that she's from Gardenia. Gardenia is a city in California. Now here's my thing that kind of like pisses me off. Why'd you have to just mention California? Like, I get like to like specify exactly where, but just say Gardenia. Don't have to say freaking California. It was just so weird. I don't like how it was delivered. And then basically hassling her, be like, oh, where are you from? And, you know, like, I don't know. Like, you literally just met this girl. Why are you hassling her? She just walked into the door. And then here's where things get spicy. Stella is the love rival of this series, because Stella and Sky used to have a thing, and now Sky is looking at Bloom, and now Stella's like, And we'll touch about this more later in the video. If you wanted a love rival, you know who was the love rival in the original cartoon, the canon? A girl named Diaspro. She doesn't go to Althea, but she is the love interest who was supposed to be marrying Sky, but then Bloom showed up and he stole his heart, and he was like, I want to marry Bloom, not Diaspro. And then Diaspro becomes a problem for the whole series because she'd be trying to steal Sky. But no, instead of putting Diaspro in, even though they like not following the canon, they make Stella the rival. Don't know why. They literally could have added Diaspro and then have another character to mess around with, but no. Okay, I'm really gonna try to speed this up, like just talking about the plot, because I have so much stuff to talk about and I really don't want to like sit here and bore you all with this little synopsis. But basically the girls end up meeting each other, like finding out who they're like living with and stuff. And I will get into like each of the characters, but the friendship with the characters seems so ungenuine. It feels someone said this before. I will link, I don't remember off the top of my head the YouTuber says, but I agree with them. Their friendship seems more of like forced because they happen to be in the same room and like they're in the same concluded space. So it's like more of a forced friendship more than a like genuine friendship, because the characters in the canon, they actually form genuine bonds and genuine friendships and get to know each other. And no, it just feels really forced and really like unnatural. Like the characters really don't like seem like genuine. And well, moving forward, basically Bloom finds out that her parents aren't her real parents. That she is a changeling. We will explain that later in the video when I talk about Bloom. There is a woman named I think Rosalind or something. I'm gonna call her Rose. She basically was like the strongest fairy that used to go to that school. She basically organized attack against like this like city, this village that had burned ones in there, and she basically tricked the other teachers and stuff to destroying and decimating that city to get not rid of only the burned ones, but also the people in that village. I will talk about that a little bit later in the video because I want to start talking about the characters because there's a lot to talk about. And oh my god, I don't even know where to begin. And then we got the Trix and everything. The Trix aren't even in the show. They replaced all 3 Trix with a girl named Beatrix. Instead of Beatrice, it's Beatrix. Beatrice, instead of a C, it's an X. So her name spells Beatrix. If y'all didn't know that. It's really annoying. And also too, Beatrix was supposed to be a witch. They made her a fairy. A fairy. Why? And yeah, I'm gonna get more into detail about this. I'm just trying to give a quick overview. But the whole show is Bloom trying to figure out who she is, trying to figure out who her parents are, why does she have magic, and trying to like fight off the burned ones and trying to get more information and like dig in deep. Also, I want to point out one thing, how overall is basically England. It's not really, but it kind of like seems like England because everyone's like British. You know what's another show that was also on Nickelodeon that did the same thing where an American girl comes over to, you know, England? House of Anubis. The main character, Nina, she was an American who got a scholarship for creative writing and ended up going to a school across the waters. And everyone in that school was British besides her. So you know what? It's kind of, we've seen this before, so yeah. So yeah, sorry if I basically explained the plot like really poorly just now and like rushing, because I have a lot to talk about and I don't want this video to be 8 hours long, because I could literally sit here and just talk about the plot for hours. I will talk more about the plot later. Well, when I talk about each and every character, it will be regards to the plot, so I will fill in puzzle pieces here and there. So yeah, let's move on to the characters. Okay, first we're gonna talk about the main 5 girls. Well, I'm gonna say main 6 girls, even though she's not in the show. So first, the first season of the canon of the cartoon, there are 5 girls. It is Bloom, Stella, Flora, Musa, and Techna. And then the second season, Layla/Aisha ends up joining the group, and then it rounds it out to being 6. And then season 4, we get a 7th girl named Roxy, but she is not there 24/7. She's only mostly there for season 4, and then she makes appearances in other seasons. But we're only going to be talking about the main 6 girls for now. In the first season, in this season of the reboot, we have Bloom, Stella, Terra, Musa, and Aisha. So let's get into this. First, let's talk about Techna. There is no character that fulfills Techna's role in all of this. They probably have reasons why Techna wasn't there, but I want to also keep in mind the universe of Winx Club. In the magical universe, there is magic and futuristic technology, so it's a nice blend of fantasy and sci-fi. Techna is the fairy of technology, if y'all have not known. Her magic revolves around technology, computers, electronics. But in the show, in the reboot, each girl has an element that they were born with. Technology is not an element, but there is an element called air, and air has properties of all these other things, which Beatrix is the air element, but we'll talk about that later. The air element has access to electricity, so why couldn't they have Techna be here with the air element and allow her to just use electricity and stuff? Because how Beatrix acts during the show, she uses a lot of electricity and everything. She doesn't do anything involving air. So, and also there, like in the show, there was a bunch of different like technological things, like little like floating cars, like advanced phones and everything. All we got in the show were iPhones and Skype. And also how they also break the fourth wall. They reference the Instagram, Snapchat, and Tumblr and everything to try to be relatable to their audience. But here's the thing. Instagram is only on Earth. So how is it Instagram in the magical dimension? How are they? It shouldn't be a thing because Instagram is from Earth. Also, when you go back to the canon, Bloom tells everyone, because they want to go get something to eat, and Bloom's like, oh, let's go get some pizza. All the girls look at her like she's stupid and goes, what's pizza? That's an Earth thing. So if she were to be like, oh, Instagram, they should look at her and be like, what's Instagram? And they should have said something like a different app that they have in the magical world that's similar to Instagram, and so they'd be like, oh yeah, we have Instagram too. And also, wouldn't you think, because you have to like sign up with your email and stuff for Instagram, if you got an email and the location, like it wouldn't even be on Earth. You'd be like, where is this? Like, this person made an account and it's nowhere to be found. So it doesn't line up correctly. So I just don't like how they try to add like and also they mentioned Instagram a lot. I'm like, did they get sponsored by Instagram? Because it was kind of concerning. So yeah, Techna, they didn't even add her, and I love her so much. She's from a planet called Zenith. They might add her in future seasons. I hope they do not make any more seasons of this reboot. Oh my god. Yeah, they literally. I want to keep talking about Techna for a minute. In season 3, Techna sacrifices herself to save all the girls and the like magical universe, and this like one like this one I guess you can call it, we'll do their terms, realms, but like this one planet, Andros, she goes to close a portal. They needed someone to close a portal. She sacrifices herself to close the portal. She ends up getting teleported to the hyper dimension. And literally everyone thought she died, and everyone was crying and mourning. And literally the girls say that they're gonna disband their little club, the Winx Club. They're gonna disband it because Techna is dead. And they literally say explicitly in the show, it's not Winx Club without Techna. But then they don't have Techna for the reboot. Someone wanna like care to explain that? Because it makes a little no sense. And also I was like looking forward to the little interaction between Bloom and Techna when Bloom pulls out her phone and Techna goes, this phone is ancient. Like, don't you have like an up-to-date phone? And she's like, it's the latest model. And then Techna gives her like an actual like phone and shit. Nope. See, and also too, in the show, they made all the characters like kind of bitchy in their own way. Literally, out of all the characters that I would expect to be bitchy in the reboot, would be Techna. Because Techna comes from Zenith. Zenith is all about technology and all futuristic sci-fi. They don't really understand emotion. They aren't in touch with their emotions. And Techna really doesn't understand sometimes emotion because she doesn't really show it. She's like straight to the, she's blunt. She's straight to the point. But as the show progresses, she starts getting more in touch with her emotions thanks to the other girls. Literally, it's season 5. The girls go for their Sirenics and everything. They get wishes. She literally uses her wish so that the people of Zenith are more in touch with their emotions instead of being more logical. Literally the only character that they could have made really bitchy, and I'd be like, okay, I'd be a little mad, but I'm like, okay, I see it. It's Techna. But they decided, no, let's not have Techna for the reboot. Let you know, cut her out completely, even though they could have made her the bitchy character out of the group. But nope. And like also, Techna is like out of all the girls, she has the most like unique magical like fairy powers, because Bloom, Dragon Flame, Fire, Stella, Light, Flora was nature, Musa was music. Music's also like unique too, and then Aisha's water. She was technology. You rarely see music and magic and technology like intertwined together to be like. They had such great opportunities, and there also is so many great technical effects that people do with just technology alone. Literally, they could have just had her in the show and it would be so much better. I wish they would have added her. I just took a 10-minute break because I just got really tired all of a sudden, and my back hurt. I don't know, I feel like I'm being really mean right now, but I angry, so let's move on to the next character. Let's talk about our beautiful, beautiful girl, Aisha, the only person of color in the group that the remake decided to keep. In the original, and I'm gonna talk about this with the 3 characters. In the original canon, there were 3 people of color. Aisha was coded to be black. Musa was coded to be East Asian or just Asian, and Flora was supposed to be coded to be Hispanic. And now when I say the word coded, this means that since they are from another dimension, they're in a different magical world, races is different. Their races are different than us, because we Earth has like American, Hispanic, black, white, all this stuff. They don't go by the same, like, how do I explain it, the same like rules as us. So they don't really have Hispanic, they don't have black, they don't have Asian, but they'll have where their world's from. For example, Stella's from Solaria, so she'd be Solarian. We don't have Solarian here. Like, that's not a race that Earth people would have. So that's what I mean when I say a character is coded. That means that they are perceived to be this race. So Flora is perceived to be Hispanic, Musa is perceived to be Asian, and Aisha is perceived to be black. They only kept Aisha as the person of color, and they whitewashed Musa and Terra, but we'll get to that when we get to those characters. Aisha, also known as Layla in some dubs, she is the princess of Andros, and she is the fairy of waves. That's in the canon, in the cartoon. But in the reboot, she's just the normal girl who comes from Andros. They don't even say that she comes from Andros. They just say that she's just the girl. Nothing special about her. She just uses her element is water. She controls water. Aisha, I really loved Aisha too, but in the reboot, they didn't do a good job of portraying her, in my opinion. Like, for example, when Bloom starts going crazy and is out of control and using her fire, Aisha goes to stop her, and the water animation looks kind of cool, but the thing is, it gives like Avatar: The Last Airbender vibe. It doesn't give like, oh, fairy magic vibes. It's just like if you would have took that clip and told me it was like, oh, from Avatar: The Last Airbender, I'd have been like, yeah, I would believe it, because literally, so let me tell you a little bit about Aisha from the cartoon. Aisha, she is a sweet girl. She cares about her friends. She is a dancer. Well, she's a princess, but she likes to dance. She learns how to dance. I will get into that in a second. In the reboot, they make her a swimmer. And like, me and my friend were talking about this. Spencer was telling me, he says it's easier to teach someone how to swim than to dance. And I can kind of see how that is, but I honestly would prefer to see Layla dancing. Well, if I say Layla and Aisha are the same person, it's just different dubs. In the Rainbow dub, they call her Layla, and the Nickelodeon dub, she's Aisha. Either name is acceptable. But so if I say either name, just know I'm talking about the same person. But yeah, I would prefer to see like Aisha just dancing and being herself and not like, and they made so in the original, Aisha has a fear of being alone, and she's also scared of the dark. So I would love to have seen, because there are some moments in the show when she's by herself, alone in the woods, out of the barrier. It is dark, or she'll be in an area that's dark. I would have loved to see her flipping out and being scared and having a panic attack. As like harsh as that sounds, each girl has a unique, like each girl has like a trauma that makes them feel more real and more relatable. Like growing up, a lot of people are scared of the dark, scared of being alone. The scared of being alone, I can relate with so much. If I didn't have any of my friends and I was all alone, I would be so depressed. Like, I'm not gonna get into that, but it makes the girls seem more real. And then literally they don't do that in the reboot. Aisha was a sweet girl. Literally, she was forced to be a princess. She was forced to not talk. She says, "Oh, a princess should be looked at, not heard." So she was raised to be like, to like walk straight, everything, blah blah blah. And sometimes she would also sneak away. There was a girl that used to live in her kingdom who was dancing and everything. Aisha found her and like would spy on her dancing. The girl discovered her and said, why do you keep spying from across the way? Come join me. And she taught her how to dance. That's why, and her friend ends up moving away, and that ends up giving Aisha a little bit of depression, like when she was a younger child. So she hated being alone. She was always alone. She was never allowed to really interact with people. That's why she snuck off with her friend. She was scared of being in the dark. Sometimes she would like have like nightmares and panic attacks and like be scared to go to sleep. And her friend would like sometimes like sneak to her room and like calm her down and be like, "It's okay, I'm here," and stay there until Aisha fell asleep so that she was more comfortable, because falling asleep was one thing that was hard for her because she was scared of being alone and scared of the dark. But you know what? They had the perfect opportunity to do this in the show, but they didn't. Like literally there's a point where Aisha is alone by herself, and there was also a point when she's with Stella. She branches off with Stella because Stella couldn't use her magic, and gives her an attitude. She's like, "Oh, you can use light magic. Finally, your magic's useful for something." But Stella couldn't do it because of this. Is also goes into another rant later. And then Aisha ends up being by herself. They had the perfect opportunity to have her scared. There's burned. Oh my god, I hit the mic. There's burned ones in the area. Just like they made her a little too confident in the Nickelodeon version. When she's known as Aisha, she has more confidence. She has a little bit more like sass, I guess. And like the Layla version, she's more like, I guess, a little bit more like girly. But they missed out on a beautiful opportunity to show how real she is as a character, and to show that she's not just fiction, that she's a real character. And I know I keep repeating myself, but it's just really sad. I really wanted to see the Layla and the Aisha that I grew up with, not this fake person trying to portray Aisha. Nothing towards the actress that played her. She's beautiful, by the way. It's all on the writers right here, because it's really disappointing. And they make Aisha like somewhat kind of bitchy. She's like kind of like, they made her like the mom of the group, and like trying to like, they basically made her the character who's like, has like, her like basically has common sense, and be like, "Hey, you shouldn't do that," and basically gets kicked to the curb whenever a character disagrees with her. Be like, there's a point where Bloom gets drunk, more on that later, and she wants to go see the principal and like confront her about something, and Aisha's like, "Hey, you're drunk, you should talk to her in the morning when you're sober," and not like, and like trying to give Bloom advice like how she's learning her magic from Stella, and Stella's like kind of toxic. Aisha's looking out for everyone and gets pushed to the side, even though she's like being the most logical there. She's being a teacher's pet when Aisha wouldn't do it. Aisha, out of everyone, is the most rebellic. She's in the original canon, she's the one who wants to like sneak out, go somewhere, go to a party or something, go explore. She wants to go and dance. She doesn't want to be confined to one area. She is the most rebellic one out of the group. but in the show they make her the most like the most like of a teacher's pet, and it's just really sad to see. And also making her like, they made all the characters in my opinion kind of bitchy and kind of rude, and it's really disheartening to see that these characters are being portrayed this way, because not every person in this world is rude, not everyone in this world is bitchy. Some people are, but not everyone. Just leave them how they are, because really it's nostalgia baiting. It's not us getting to see the character that we wanted to see. You're giving us someone who's completely different and just putting on the mask of Aisha, and at the end of the day it's not her, it's someone completely different. And I'm going on a tangent. I really need to go to the next character. And I also want to talk about the outfit choices. Layla and Aisha, I'm gonna put pictures. I hopefully have pictures up by now of like stuff that she would wear. She wears more kind of like, I guess in my opinion, more sporty clothing, and they making her look like she goes to church or something, or like she's like, they look like all the characters how they're dressed. They kind of just look like moms. Like they look like, oh my god, like there's so many people, like people made TikToks and everything about like their outfit designs. And also I want to talk about the like, they're trying to do color coding where it's they have the character wearing the color of their element. Sometimes that's done really well, but in this show I don't like how it's portrayed. Usually, like, okay, she's wearing like, most of the time she's wearing like blues and purples to represent water, but in the show the normal outfits they wear like a bunch of different colors, but usually Aisha's color palette is green and turquoise basically, but more on like the green side, and as the show progresses she does end up getting more blue and teal. But in the very beginning she's wearing mostly green. For example, her fairy transformation outfit, she's wearing all green, and it's a beautiful outfit, and I would have loved to see the actress in that outfit, but they didn't even get to do that. It's really disappointing. And overall it's just a slap in the face to the original person, to the creator who made these characters, because Aisha was such a strong black woman, and that gave so many kids like hope, and like actually people looked up to her when they were growing up, and it's just a slap in the face. Let me stop here and let me move on to the next character, because I think I've been ranting for like 20 minutes all about Aisha. So yeah, now let me talk about the fairy of music, Musa herself. I say Musa, but some people pronounce it Musa. I'm gonna say Musa because yeah, you can say either or. I prefer that pronunciation. Musa, she is the fairy of music, and she comes from a planet called Melody. Melody is coded to be East Asia, or I believe Japan also. She is coded to be Asian. She has a bunch of symbolism to like Asia, where she will literally wear stuff that is inspired by Asian culture and Asian fashion. Her mother even wears like kimonos and stuff. Even the ruler of Melody, the king, also looks like he's a shogun, and has like I believe he also has a katana. Don't quote me on that. But there's so much Asian culture in like her story and her planet. Then in the reboot, she's replaced with a white woman, or at least white passing. We do not know her nationality or her race. People are speculating that she's a quarter Asian at least, but at the end of the day she's white passing, and it's kind of overwritten the character that we grew up with, knowing that she's Asian, and all the backstory and thought that has went into the design of her planet and who she is as a person. How I describe Musa, she is basically the tomboy of the group. She's loving, she's caring, but she is also, I think out of everyone, the most sensitive when it comes to certain topics and who she is. Because Stella's like the type of character, like she's loving and everything, but she will say something without thinking first, and then end up offending someone when she didn't mean to, which she will go and apologize for. So Musa is usually the most sensitive when it comes to certain topics. She is the tomboy of the group, and she loves music, and she loves her mom, and she also loves her dad too. She has like some dad problems. Each character I said has trauma. Techna, she doesn't really have trauma, but hers is like not having like emotions or whatever. only one really that doesn't really have trauma in a way, or like a tragic, like something that like has affected their life, is Flora, but we'll get into that later. Musa's quote unquote trauma is that her mother died when she was very young, and so basically how her parents met was from a concert. Her mom was like a professional singer. Her dad wrote her a song for her to sing, and he did it in one night, and then they ended up falling in love, having a child, but they were really poor and they couldn't afford medicine when her mom got sick, so her mom ended up passing away. That hit the dad so hard that he broke all the instruments in the house, got rid of all the music, like paper, all the music notes, any like lyrics to songs. He got rid of everything because the music just reminded him of her and it hurt him so much. And then this traumatized her when she was younger, because there's literally like portraits of like Musa when she was younger, and she's like hiding in fear behind the couch because her dad just going around breaking everything, screaming, crying. But music is what, like how her mother raised her with like music and everything, and it really hits home with her. So that's why she also wants to be a musician too, besides the fairy of music. She wants to make people happy with her music and cheer people up, because music is a powerful thing to her and she cherishes it with all her heart. In the reboot, her mother has passed, but here's the thing. So in the reboot, Musa is not the fairy of music. Also, all the girls don't have titles like the fairy of. Her element is mind. So basically she has like, she says she's an empathy. Basically, she can feel other people's emotions. She basically can look at someone and like, she can look at you and tell you what you're feeling and how you're feeling. But she doesn't know why you're feeling that. So she can look at you and be like, you're upset about something. And she can feel it. So that's also, she ends up being more like of a bitch and cold to people. Like she will wear headphones and drown out all the sound so she cannot feel what everyone else is feeling. And where I'm like, that's like kind of well written, but it's like she's not music based, and like she ends up having a conversation with Terra, because anytime Terra would try to talk to her, she would put on her headphones to like zone her out and not like listen to her. And Terra gets offended and she asks why, and she like tells her, because like even Terra does something sweet, and Terra, I love her. She gives her a speaker. She's like, hey, I got a speaker if you want to use it. Instead of shutting yourself away and listening to music, I can join you in your world and see what you're experiencing. Just blast your music or whatever, so we can like still talk and I can be in your world. Which is such a sweet thing to do, like trying to like get to know someone, trying to understand who they are as a person. Terra, I love her. We're gonna talk about her next. Who texted me? Oh, my friend Spencer texted me. I told him, I said I'm going insane. He said rip. Yeah, she's an empathy. She can feel other people's emotions. Her trauma with her mom is that a year ago her mother died, and also mind fairies have the ability to take away some of the pain and some of the emotion of another person. And when her mother died, she felt everything her mother was feeling, all the emotional pain and the physical pain as well. So she felt what it was like for a loved one to die, which is really well written, but that's not Musa's backstory, and it's really annoying. But I'm not trying to like say that this Musa's backstory isn't tragic at all. It is really tragic. I can get what the writers were trying to do and try to make her like more like what's the word, I don't know, I guess they were trying to make us more sympathetic towards her. But my only issue really is that she's more standoffish. She's like more of a loner. She's more like rude to people. She doesn't really care that much. She does end up making a good the only genuine friendship that we see in the show is between Musa and Terra, which it actually does make them seem like actual friends. And I was just really expecting the tomboy the tomboy music girl that we all grew up with, who later in later seasons ends up becoming more feminine and more in touch with like her femininity. But instead we got a girl who's just doesn't want to be around people, and it's like just, and it's just like, it's really heartbreaking. I really wish we would have got the original Musa instead of this girl. Also, I just want to talk about how stupid her magic is. Like, being able to tell emotion and everything, that's like really like cool and stuff. I'm not hating on that. I'm hating on the fact that her element is the mind. Because we had fire, water, earth, wind, and all that, and then her element is the mind. They should have said her the element was psyche for like your brain and stuff. But she's supposed to be the fairy of music. She doesn't even, they should at least made her the fairy of air, because air could have been connected to sound, and sound could have been connected to music. That's what they should have did. But no, they gave her a different element that makes absolutely no sense and doesn't work with the original canon character. And I don't know if I'm like sounding like disrespectful or anything towards Musa. The actress does a good job of acting. I love how they kept the original hairstyle, how she had like these little pigtails in her hair, but they gave her like 2 buns instead. I really do like that. And then also too, her boyfriend from the original canon, Riven, is also in the show. But literally, they have only one interaction with each other, and it's like a rude interaction. And also, Musa was the dancer. She said she used to dance. I'm like, that's supposed to be Aisha. And then she ends up dating Terra's brother, Sam. That's a whole nother thing. I'll talk about him later. But it's just like, why'd you have Riven and not give her Riven? It makes no sense. You gave Bloom Sky. Let me talk about the next character, because I feel like I'm running on at this point, because there's not really that much to talk about with the Musa in the reboot. Now it's time to talk about the most controversial of the 6 girls, which is Terra. I just want to go off the record. I love Terra. I wish her the best. I love her so much. Now here's where my problem is with Terra. It's not Flora, and they whitewashed that role. So here's the whole thing with Terra. Flora is supposed to be the fairy of nature. She's supposed to work with plants and everything like that. This role was originally supposed to be Flora, but they switched it to Terra, and there's a bunch of stuff that came out saying that this role was supposed to be Flora, and they went and changed things around, and then they did some damage control saying that Terra was Flora's cousin. Now, I really love Terra as a character. She is my favorite character in the in this reboot. She's my favorite character, the one that I relate to the most. But it's not Flora. That's one of my main issues. It's like, this could have been Flora. If they would have just went and made Terra a side character, I would have been completely happy with that. I would have no problems whatsoever. But also too, Flora is supposed to be coded as Latina. Terra is white. So they erased her role. We all believe that the main reason why they switch Flora for Terra is because Terra is a plus size character. All the fun fact, so all the main cast, they're all pretty much like, they have like somewhat unobtainable body types. They're really skinny and everything like that. The reason for why they're skinny is because I believe, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure, because this Winx Club was originally an Italian cartoon, and if you don't know, in the fashion world, there's a certain body type that they usually require for like runways and stuff, and when they're designing fashion outfits and everything, they have a template of a female or a male model, and it's a certain body type. They use those I guess decals for inspiration for the art style. So that's why the characters in the cartoon are in fact skinnier than most people would believe. I do like that they try to go and add some more diversity in like the body type. But honestly, they should have just made Flora a plus size character instead of replacing her and erasing her completely and putting a new character, because same thing like I said earlier, Winx Club is not Winx Club without Techna. Winx Club is not Winx Club without Flora. They honestly should just made Flora a plus size character. So people have been like, oh, blah, blah, blah. She wasn't like plus size in the original cartoon. But it would be 10 times better than erasing her completely. I would prefer that they made Flora plus size than erasing her completely. Because Flora was the one character that her besides Stella, were like the one character that I was so excited for, because I loved Flora growing up. Flora was such a great character. Also, Flora is Latina. I am Latino. I am Hispanic. I am Puerto Rican and Dominican, for all of you that don't know. So out of all the characters, she's one of the characters that I can relate with, because we are both Hispanic. And also out of everyone, Flora is so caring. She cares about everyone, and she's also very self-conscious about herself. Something that I can also relate with, and they translate it kind of well into Terra, because Terra is a caring person. She is she's not afraid to stand up for herself, and she's also really self-conscious. Literally, she like rambles on when she's like starting to panic and everything in the show. And I was literally telling my friend Spencer, I said she is like what's the word? She is basically the physical depiction of how I feel on the inside on a daily basis. Like, I will say something and I will worry about it for the rest of the day. I'm like, oh, was I rude? Was I like, this whole video, I'm like trying to make sure that I don't say anything that probably sounds like rude or something, but like, I'm like trying to get my feelings out, and that's Terra. I love Terra as a character, but I just wish that she was a side character or an extra character added to the plot instead of getting rid of Flora, like, in general, because they just replaced her like that, and it's like really upsetting. And no hate towards Terra, but I just wish that it was Flora and then Terra being another character. But yeah, Terra, out of everyone in the whole show, she's the most well-written character. But I'm really sad that they gave her like the role of the plus size girl that gets picked on by people and all this other shit, like so people just make fun of her weight or just ignore her or treat her like poorly, when literally Terra deserves a lot better. And going on to my friend Spencer, I asked him, does he have any 2 cents that he wants to add into to my commentary, and he goes, I like Terra, smiley face. I think she's neat and she deserves better, smiley face. Which I agree with. Terra is such a lovable character, and literally, because I think the reason why she's also a really good character is because she's her own character. They're not trying to rewrite a pre-existing character and make them different, because all the other characters fall flat, and Terra is really well written, and I really love her, and I love to see more of her, and the actress is really beautiful. I just want to say that for a second. And then they also give her her outfits. I'm not really too mad with her outfits. They like look like earthy. She looks like florist, kind of like she's like dressed in layers and everything. I actually like her outfit. I'm not gonna really say anything negative because Terra is her own character. Terra really doesn't have any like traumas like the other girls or any like past traumatic experiences. Like just like Flora. Oh yeah, and I didn't talk that much about Flora from the original. Flora comes from a planet called Lymphea, and it's all about nature and plants and all this good stuff. And she has a little sister. She has a mother. Her little sister is Melee or something like, I don't know. Look it up. Her mother's name is Rose, and she also talks about this in the show, like, blah 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 this, and my cousin's name is Flora, because they're trying to connect her to Flora. And then Terra has a brother named Sam, which I'll talk about later. And then she has her dad, Mr. Harvey, is kind of taking the role of Mr. Polarium of from the original show. Mr. Polarium was one of my favorite characters, teacher-wise. I love that man. I would die for that man. And he doesn't have the same energy as like Mr. Polarium, because Mr. Polarium in the first season is like finicky and kind of shy and like not really confident in himself. And then the teacher just doesn't like seem like all that special. But yeah, and then they make Terra do stuff that like really I wish they didn't do, because there is a lot of sex involved in this. Like I don't like it, because I grew up with these characters and I'm like, you're like tainting them. They're not supposed to like they're adding like, you don't need sex to drive a show. That's what I'm trying to say. Why are you adding like sex to move the plot? They don't need it. They're literally 16. And then you have some characters doing drugs, like I'll talk about this later. Riven, he's smoking weed and all this and everything, and he's smoking cigarettes, e-cigarettes and all that. And then they make Terra make weed brownies for this party that they're having, and it's really uncomfortable, because I'm like, Flora would never. She would never. And also, like, Flora is really in touch with the plants and nature herself. She, like, if, like, plants were in, like, danger or being harmed or something, she could hear them screaming. She could feel their pain. And Terra decorates her whole, like, room with plants, just like how Flora did, so I give them credit for that. But what I wish they would have did was, how do I word it? I really wish that Bloom would have lost control in the room and end up lighting the room on fire, and all her plants going up into flames, and then Terra screaming in the corner like, they're in pain, my plants, they're in pain, Aisha, do something. I would have loved to see something like that, but they didn't do it. And also, her element is supposed to be earth, and earth is such a broad topic, because they say in the show, it's like, oh, soil, rock, plants, like that. No, I feel like they should have kept they should have an element for nature and an element for earth, because to me, nature and earth are two separate things. They are similar, but I feel like they're really different in their own ways. And there's like there's a scene in the show where like they're all like trapped in the school and they're like blockading everything in, and they have the fire fairies doing they're welding the door shut so that the burned ones can't get in. Now this is where I was literally ranting to my friend Spencer. I literally said, if they have earth fairies and stuff, some of them control like stones and stuff, they really should have just barricaded the wall instead of like with chairs and welding the doors shut. And the doors, keep in mind, are glass. Instead of doing all that, they should have had the earth fairies making vines and everything to protect the windows, because literally Flora does shit like that in the show, where she will make like rose thorns and like rose vines and everything. She will literally wrap things up to contain them and to protect people, and then have like, and some earth fairies can control rocks and soil and everything. They could have reinforced the windows with more stone, but they just don't. They're not thinking right, and it makes no sense. I'm gonna stop talking about Terra for now. I love Terra. I wish she was just a separate character. And let's move on to Stella, because I got a hot thing to say about them. And also, I'm past an hour mark and we're nowhere near halfway done, so this is gonna be fun. Alright, it's the next day and let's get this show on the road. Time to talk about our sweet princess Stella, the princess of Celeria. In some dubs, the fairy of the sun and the moon, and in other dubs, just the fairy of the shining sun. And I will get into all of this funky information. Okay, out of all of the main girls, I feel like I will be the most vocal about Stella, because out of everyone, like besides Flora, Stella is one character that I was actually able to relate to growing up. And I was so excited to see her for the reboot, to see how they, like, to see the, like, bubbly girl that I've always knew. And they just completely ruined her. And I'm, like, actually upset. So, let me get into the reasons why I, like, relate to her and everything like this. Also, since it's the next day, I don't really remember a lot of what I said yesterday, so I might end up repeating myself throughout the video. But, when I bring up the characters who have traumatic experiences or some form of trauma, I am in no way making fun of it. I'm highlighting it just for the simple fact that this was also like a cartoon when I was younger, and it makes the characters feel more real, because some of the backstories for these characters you would never see as a backstory for a character in a cartoon when I was younger. So the fact that these girls have some type of like experience that makes them who they are today and makes them more relatable and makes them seem more real to a younger audience is an amazing fucking thing. And I feel like cartoons should do more of that, but they want to keep people pure. Stella's trauma, on the other hand, is that both of her parents got divorced. And you see little clips of it throughout the story, how it really affects her. For God's sake. So I also talked about this with Techna's. When the girls get their Sirenics powers, they get one wish, and that's after they please Destiny. Stella pleases Destiny, and she uses her wish so that her mother and her father could understand each other better and understand her, because growing up, it's hard for her to like talk to both of her parents anymore because they're divorced and they don't want to be in the same room with each other, and they will never talk to each other. They are always arguing and stuff, and it hurts her. Literally, there's like an episode where she full on cries when they get into an argument and they leave. They full on cry. She full on cries, and it really hurts. Like, I was rewatching the scene yesterday and I started crying because it's such a powerful thing. Because growing up, I know a lot of kids that went to like school with me and everything who had divorced parents or had a single parent. And me, I kind of relate to this because I don't know my biological father. I think I met him only once, but that was like when I was really younger. I did have a father figure growing up, thankfully. My mom's boyfriend right now, he's my father figure. But I'd never met my biological father. I don't want to meet him because I heard a lot of bad stuff about him. But anyway, that's something that I could relate to, because not every kid grows up with a divorced parent. It is kind of common, but also at the same time, there are a lot of kids that grow up with a happy family, no problems, no drama with their parents being divorced or getting separated. And also too, her parents like got divorced when she was 16, and she was hoping that it would not happen. Literally in the second season of the cartoon. Sorry for that little cut right there. I had a timer, it went off. I had something in the oven. It's not cooked, so I had to go back in the oven. But yeah, back to what I was saying. Like getting, and also at 16, getting your parents being divorced when you grew up living with both of them, and then them to just separate, it hurts a lot of people, and it happens to a lot of people. So it's really relatable, and it really makes Stella seem like a genuine character, because as the series progresses, there's little instances that goes back into that, and it really upsets Stella. It really makes her upset, and she even sheds tears. I think I already mentioned that. I'm sorry. Like, literally in the second season of the cartoon, her dad gets remarried, and it destroys her. It devastates her. The fact that her dad would marry another person, it's devastating to any child growing up. And that's why it makes Stella seem like such a genuine character and like a genuine person. And that's why I love her too. It's because she's so real. But the reboot, let's talk about this, because I got some opinions. Reboot Stella is the worst person. Like, oh my god. So let me talk about the version of her trauma in the show. Basically, she gets abused by her mother. Instead of her parents being divorced, or they're probably divorced and they didn't talk about it. But basically, in the show, magic is controlled by emotion, which is stupid, because it feels like one of those stereotypical things where, oh my god, we can get through this with the power of friendship. It's like one of those anime trope cliches. Literally in the show, these girls go to school, they learn how to hone their powers, they literally practice using their magic in the show, and they're doing obstacle courses. They're learning how to save planets that were hit by natural disasters and trying to like save it. But you know, instead of doing that, they're like, oh, magic is linked to emotion, so positive emotions, blah blah blah, all this good stuff. But her mom, whenever positive emotions don't work, she would inflict negative emotions like fear, anxiety, depression, all this stuff onto Stella, which would make her magic more powerful. But negative emotions aren't always reliable, because it's also shown in the show she's scared and she's trying to use her magic, but she can't use her magic because she's too scared. It is an interesting concept. I do like the idea of that whole like of her backstory, and it does hurt and it does make her seem like a real character. But her mother in the show is such a caring person. Her mother Luna would never put her hands on her daughter, would never abuse her in any way, shape, or form. But no, they change it and they do something that's like, I guess in my opinion, worse, because like getting abused by a parent is a traumatic experience and no one should have to go through it. And because of that, they make her character a bitchy character. It basically, like someone was telling me, she's like Regina George from Mean Girls now. Like, she only like cares about herself. She talks people down. She acts like she's all that. Stella would never. Stella in the original cartoon in the canon, she does care about her looks, and like she doesn't really in my opinion, she doesn't really care that much about what people think about her, because the only person that she cares about is what she thinks of herself. She is the girl in the cartoon. She would be the girl that will always spend money on a bunch of clothes and love to go shopping. She's super caring. She loves her friends. She loves people out of the kindness of her heart. She would also be the person who would think before she spoke, and sometimes would hurt someone or offend someone. But she would apologize for it because she wouldn't. She's missing a few brain cells in her head. She's not the stereotypical blonde who's like, oh, that's you dumb or whatever. She would say things without thinking, and it would hurt someone, and she didn't mean it to come off that way, and she would go and apologize. She is such a caring person. But in the reboot, they make her just this horrible person, picking on Terra, basically giving everyone like the side eye, just being rude. And with her looks in the show, she basically only dresses good to impress other people. Stella doesn't dress to impress. You can argue that she does in the cartoon, but she mostly dresses because she wants to look pretty. She wants to look good, and it like makes her more like confident when she like dresses how she wants to dress. Literally, she becomes a fucking fashion designer in the series. She comes out with her own fashion line because she is passionate about it. And it belittles her in the reboot because it makes her seem like she's only dressing to impress. And like, if she could, she would just wear sweatpants or whatever and just like dress like a bum, I guess. Literally the only person in the cartoon that she cares about how she looks and everything is to her boyfriend Brandon. Literally, her boyfriend Brandon, there's an episode where Bloom's like, hey Bloom, help me, what should I wear? And Bloom be like, Stella, whatever you wear, it's gonna look cute or whatever. She's like, yeah, but me and Brandon went on so many dates, I don't remember what I've worn in front of him, and I don't want to wear the same dress twice, so I want to impress him. Which is valid. Like, if you're in love with someone, you would want to impress them, but they should love you for you, which Brandon does love her for her. Or you could go into an episode, one of the few episodes in season 3 where she ends up being turned into a troll or whatever. I'll get into that later. Probably not. I'm probably gonna forget about it. But it's really just disheartening to see her become this bitchy character who only cares about herself, and like she's afraid of her own mother and just shutting everyone aside. And also too, they make her Bloom's love rival to Sky, because apparently Sky and Stella in the reboot had a thing,
and I think it's hinted in the first episode when she stays in his dorm for the night, is that they had sex. And I'm like, Stella would never, first of all. Two, why she, and like, they also make it like she's a crazy girl, where the last girl who, they hinted at it, and they explain it. The last girl who talked to Sky while Stella was dating him, she blinded them. Stella would never get that crazy. Literally in the cartoon, there's a girl, Mitzi, this girl who like always picked on Bloom, is trying to get Brandon, and literally the most she does is give her an attitude and gives Brandon the silent treatment. She would never attack another person over a guy. But that's my opinion, I guess. They just ruined her, and I was so excited to see her as like this nice, like bright, bubbly girl who loved her friends and loved being around them, loved wearing clothes and like being a little bit rebellious and stuff. But no, they make her a horrible person in the reboot, and then they try to like save her towards the end and try to make her like more like trying to protect everyone and stuff. That's not enough to save her. She's nothing like that. They're probably gonna try to pull a thing where they make her more nice and everything as the series goes, like, but her mom is involved in, it's so horrible, and I'm not even done talking about her. I had to go take a walk and clear my head because I was getting really upset. But I don't even know what else to talk about with Stella, because it's just, it makes no sense how they've written her. It's a completely different character. It feels nothing like Stella. Now, I want to talk about her mother, Luna. And also, I found a Kermit meme where it's like, Luna in the cartoon, and it's like blushing Kermit, and then it's Luna in the reboot, and then disgusted Kermit. I sent it to my friend, and I said, this is me. Okay. Luna is the Queen of Solaria, but the dad divorces her, so she's no longer the queen, and they make Solaria seem like this dictatorship or something. Like literally, the show starts going, and like the reboot starts to feel like Divergence at a point where like Dauntless comes in and starts taking over everything. Literally, it feels like that with Luna with Solaria. I'm like lost for words because it just doesn't feel like genuine. It feels like forced and stuff. And Stella's mom just seems like is such a bitch for no reason, like literally, and looks nothing like. And the fashion choices. Let me pause about Luna's mom. The fashion choices. Stella would never wear any of those outfits that the Stella in the reboot is wearing. Because literally, Stella likes bright colors, fun designs and outfits and everything. And most of the time, like, the Stella in the reboot is wearing like dark colors, muted colors. Stella would never. She would never wear all black and like all, like literally there's like a time where I forget what episode or what season, she wears something that's like bland and she complains about it the entire time. She literally, whenever there's like a new outfit, she spruces it up in some way if she doesn't like it, and she's just and then her ring. So I'm glad that they added the Ring of Solaria back into this, because that was important in the first season. But it just seems like it was there just for like nostalgia or whatever, or just for like some little plot thing. It doesn't play a big role. And the ring looks similar, but not exactly the same from the original. I know it's like whatever, they just made it more fancy looking and more shiny with more crystals. In the original, it's like a circle. It's like think about how you would draw a sun if you were a kid. It's like a circle with the lines. It was like a steel ring, and it was a circle, a bunch of lines going through it, and a crystal in the middle. I would love to have just seen that. And then the burn one gets it, and it's like similar to how like the Trix wanted her ring in the first season of the cartoon. But it plays no major role. Like the burned one takes it, and they get it back, but there's no reason why the burned one wanted it to begin with. And yeah, just the mom is like, and like in the original cartoon, the mom really doesn't, like, you see glimpses of her, but she doesn't really make it like an appearance until season 5. Or like, yeah, season 5, she doesn't make until she makes an appearance. You mostly just get to see her dad throughout the entire show. If they would have made like her dad or whatever the one that came in for the show, I would have been like, okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Why is your mom being like, unless this leads up to the divorce, but this would make absolutely no sense. And then also in the show, she's like, her element is light, so she can only control light and stuff, but literally it doesn't seem that useful. Literally the most she does is create a light orb when she needs it to take a selfie, or she makes, like, she blinds the burned one. She doesn't really like fight or do damage or anything. She's just there, and it kind of makes her seem like she's really weak. And the love triangle with her and Bloom and Sky and all, like, it was unneeded. And that scene where it like implies that they had sex or something, I really didn't need that at all. I really did not want to witness that at all. It's just uncomfortable. I'm like, they would never do all that. I think I'm gonna stop talking about Stella because I think I could talk about her for probably another 20 minutes, but I don't want to because I'm getting aggravated. So let's move on to Bloom. Okay, I want to talk about Bloom now. Bloom, I'm 50-50 on how they decided to written her. There's a lot of things that they did wrong that I don't like at all. But written wise, not like the story elements, like how she is portrayed and how the acting goes. I'm like 50-50 on it. So, who is Bloom, you may be asking? From the cartoon, she is perceived to be a human from Earth who happens to be a fairy. But her parents are both human. There's no fairies in like her, I guess, family tree. So how does she possess magical abilities? Bloom, in fact, is not human. She actually comes from a planet from the magic dimension known as Domino, which she is the princess and the sole survivor of. Back to the lore. The magic universe was created from the dragon flame, and all these planets were basically like Solaria, Zenith, Lymphea, Melody. All these places were created because of the dragon flame. And when she was born, it was decided that she will be the keeper, the holder of the dragon flame. But these 3 ancestral witches didn't want none of that. They wanted the power for themselves. So they went and unleashed an attack against Domino, ending up freezing it solid and making it unlivable. And a lot of the people there are frozen. Daphne, her sister, decided, hey, I need to save my sister because they're after the sister. So what she did, she sent Bloom somewhere random in Earth to protect her so that the 3 witches could not get her. And when she went to go fight back to protect herself, she is known as the nymph of Cyrenix. She has the Cyrenix power. The 3 ancestral witches put a curse on Cyrenix, and when she used her power to defend herself, her power turned on her and ended up basically turning her into a ghost. More on that in a little bit. But so she ends up being adopted by these two loving parents. I don't remember their name off the top of my head, but they use the same name in the reboot, thank God. How she is found is that her dad is actually a firefighter and her mom is a florist. She got teleported to the mom's flower shop, and there was a fire, but the fire seemed to be protecting our dear Bloom. And then at that point, the parents basically bonded with her and ended up adopting her, raising her as if they were her very own, being very loving parents. Also, before I start talking about Bloom, I really want to talk about her parents first, because I actually cried during the reboot because of how they portrayed her parents. So her parents are very loving, treated her as her very own, didn't neglect her, nothing, raised her as if she was her own, loved her with every part and soul of their body. In the reboot, however, the mom basically acts towards Bloom that she doesn't even want her. And it's really upsetting because I know how these parents are in the show. They're so loving, they're so caring. Literally, in season 4, when Bloom has to go on Earth to look for the final Earth fairy, and they needed to get a job and everything, they open up a new business. The mom gives them the money on the spot so that they can start their new business, taking care of them, allowing Bloom and the other girls to crash at their house until they get everything situated. The mom and dad are so loving, but the dad in the reboot seems cringy and follows after his wife. It kind of feels like the dynamic in the house is happy wife, happy life. And the mom just basically is always like criticizing her daughter for like, in the show, Bloom, we don't really know about much of her Earth friends. She does have some, apparently. It's hinted in the show, like you meet some of them actually. Bloom likes to draw. She will draw. She loves reading fairy tales. In the reboot, she likes I think antique shopping or being like a loner by herself. And the mom is always criticizing her for being by herself, not having any friends, basically straight up bullying her own daughter. And it's so sad. And then basically ridicules her daughter for every little thing, and only changes her mind when Bloom ends up finding out her power and everything and almost killing her mom. That's when the mom in the reboot decides, oh hey, I've been too harsh to her, I should like take care of her and love her. Which really hurts. It shouldn't have to take a life-threatening accident or situation for you to realize how cruel you are to your daughter. And I don't like how they did that, because her mom is such a loving person. I don't like how they portrayed her as a villain. Enough about the parents for a little bit, because I have a lot of other stuff to talk about Bloom. Outfits. I want to talk about her outfit for a second. I hate her outfits. I hate all the outfit choices that they give her. Literally, they make Bloom get drunk in one episode. Oh my god. But sorry, I had to scratch my nose. Yeah, I don't like the fact that they had Bloom drinking. She's also 16, drinking age is 21, but you know. And also her outfits, oh my god. So in the series, her color palette is mainly blue, and they start adding more pink on as the series goes. So basically, her color palette is usually her orange hair, blue eyes, and then a blue turquoise outfit, and then sometimes hints of pink, because the blue complements her hair. They have this girl wearing 8 different turtlenecks in the series. She's wearing all dark. She's wearing red, brown, blue, jeans, like navy blue, not light blue, like navy blue. Like they're making her wear like all these ugly colors. And also I talked about this, so basically they're doing outfit coding, where basically you wear like the color of your element, and in some cases it is done really well. But in how the Winx reboot does it, it does not look good at all. Like Bloom's hair is like a nice bright orange color, and then you have this also pisses me off. Whenever she uses her magic, her eyes glow red like fire, and I'm like, she doesn't do that in the original cartoon. The only time when her eyes glow red is when she's transforming from her normal form to her Sirenix form. That's the only time when her eyes glow red in the entire series. And just like anytime she uses her power, like literally Aisha, Terra, and Stella, whenever they use their magic, their eyes don't glow, but her and Musa for some reason have to have their eyes glow. I don't understand all of that. In the reboot, her color palette just seems way too warm, and also since she's using fire, and then you have more fire on top of like already pre-existing warm colors, it's like not appealing to the eye, because I want to see like a nice cool toned color, or like they couldn't have her wearing like something blue or something like you know, like just a little pop of color. All the characters are wearing such dark and I get they were trying to go for a more dark, sinister like atmosphere, but you just wearing dark, it's not appealing to the eye. The only like thing that is appealing to the eye is like the green balance when they're in the forest and you see all the leaves on the trees. My friend Spencer, he also was complimenting how they did the color scaling on the green, because the forest actually looks nice, but it's just like the characters' outfits don't like match up with it. I just don't like how the outfits are. I was expecting the outfits from like the original. Like if they did a modern spin on the outfits that they used to wear in the show, it would be so beautiful. There's one video, I don't know the girl's name, I will leave it in the link below. Some people were basically saying if they were the fashion designer on the show, they would design a girl how they would design the girls more modern. There's two videos in particular, I will link them down below, and they're so amazing. Please go watch those videos and you'll understand like how they should have went on with the characters. And let me backpedal back to Bloom. So in the show, she is known as a fairy of the dragon flame. We don't find out about this in the reboot until the last 5 minutes of the show, which is due because like, okay, I get you're trying to create suspense and everything, but literally like it's like hard to like follow, because you're basically in the trailers they're talking up Bloom like she could have the potential to be the strongest fairy in the universe or whatever. Okay, but they don't explain that till the last 5 seconds. Like literally the whole time you're like, why is Bloom here? Also, Bloom, oh my, I have so much, oh my god, hold on. Personality wise, how they portrayed Bloom, yeah, Bloom seems out of her element, and I don't like how they basically made the other world, the Magic's world, basically England, and made everyone British, and then she's the only like American there, because it's been done basically before. I said earlier in the video, House of Anubis, Nina, an American who gets a scholarship to a school in England, everyone's British, so she's out of her element. And then there's also like the reverse. I believe it's I don't think it's Legally Blonde, the other movie with the two sisters that are the twins. Basically they're British and they go to school in America, so they're out of their element because they're the two British ones and everyone else is American, so they're out of their element. It's like we've seen stuff like this before. It's not anything original, and I think it's like, I don't know, kind of like boring to just have her be like the only one. Yeah, back to the personality thing, but it like, yeah, she's like struggling with stuff and everything, but the thing is how they basically forced the story to go is that, oh hey, it's her trying to figure out how to get her powers under control and her trying to figure out who her real parents are. It's like it's basically her only plot line is that, hey, my parents aren't really my parents. I need to figure out who my parents are and where I come from. Where I'm like, yeah, you think like, oh, this is weird. It just kind of just feels like Harry Potter at this point, where Harry finds out he's a wizard and his adopted parents aren't his real parents, even though they like abuse him and stuff. It just doesn't feel original. Well, and she like looks at her real parents and she's like, oh, they're not, like, she like in my opinion, I feel like she overreacts. In the original the original show, when Bloom finds out that they aren't her parents, she's not upset. She's just like, she literally says to them, I love you guys and you guys will always be my parents, but I would like to know who are my birth parents. She knows that they raised her. At the end of the day, whoever these two people are will always and will be her parents. She just wants to know who are her actual birth parents who gave her life. Nothing wrong with that. They handle it more maturely in the cartoon, and then in this, it's supposed to be more like realistic and everything. I just like back to her figuring out that like her parents aren't her real parents. Basically, what happens Also, this is in season 2 is where it gets more into like, is where she like finds out like, where she's trying to figure out more about her actual parents. That's the plot line of season 2, and it's actually done a lot better than how they're, you know, portraying it. And so Bloom is actually a changeling. Basically what happens is that she was swapped at birth with another person. And now here's the whole plot line with her with how her birth story, because she has been told her birth story. I'm gonna call her adopted parents. I forget what their names are, but basically their child had a heart condition, and the child was going to die. And Rosalind, I believe her name is, needed to hide Bloom away from the burned ones, because the burned ones were after her. I will talk about this later, but the burned ones were after her, and we're trying to like kill Bloom. So a way to hide her was to send her to Earth, where the burned ones could not get them whatsoever. And also, since this couple was about to lose their child, they gave them a second chance of having a child, which I'm like, okay, yeah, that's sweet. I actually like that little written in. But that's not what happens in the original. Bloom is sent from Domino from her sister, and they basically erased her sister, because in the first season, Bloom would get dreams about this angelic woman who's always calling out to her, like saying her name. She's like, Bloom, come here, like basically trying to get her attention to go somewhere, trying to lead her in the right direction. She would get nightmares from it and everything. And the person calling out to her, not her sister Daphne, it's Rosalind, who's like entrapped in like a cage. But you know what? Whatever. And I don't like the direction that they're steering Bloom into, because it's so obvious that they're gonna Rosalind does not have good intentions, and basically they're gonna turn Bloom into Dark Bloom. In season 2, basically Bloom gets possessed by the Phoenix, and Bloom becomes evil and turns into Dark Bloom. And that's exactly what we're gonna get if they do a second season of it. It's like, yeah, but it's cool to see like, oh, we're gonna get Dark Bloom again, because Dark Bloom was like really cool. I like how they changed her outfit from blue to black, but it's so obvious and it's kind of cliche. Like, you're turning her into a villain. I don't like it. It's like, if you're gonna do it into a villain, do it gradually and in a subtle way, like how I forget what the guy's name who ends up like giving her like the little like curse or whatever. When she starts to turn evil, it's slowly over time. You don't notice it until like the very end. This, they're giving it to you, bam, in your face. She's gonna be evil. Just watch. The last thing I want to say about Bloom is I want to talk about her trauma. So I would say technically in the original, her trauma is that she is an adopted child and finding out that she's adopted, because that can be traumatic to a person, finding that out. So I would consider that her trauma. And the I kind of like her trauma in the reboot. It's actually well written. How she finds out that she is a fairy is by her and her mom get into an argument, and basically it's been because how they're saying, oh, magic is linked to emotion. Basically, she's been like angry, and like it's just been like sitting inside of her. It wouldn't go away. She'd been having trouble sleeping at night, and then one day she just goes out of control, and then a path of fire from her goes to her parents' room and tries to kill her mom. And I talked about this a little bit earlier, like how she almost kills her mom, and then she finds out that the reason for the fire was because of her, and she doesn't know how it happened. So in fear of harming her parents or killing anyone, at night she would sneak out to an abandoned factory near her house, and she would sleep there at night in fear that she might kill someone or might harm someone, just like how she harmed her mom. That, I like how they've written that and how they portrayed that. What I don't like what they did was Miss Faragonda. I'm gonna say Faragonda. They call her Doweling in the show, but they call her Farah, and I'm like, that's short for Faragonda. So she says Miss Faragonda finds her randomly, and then
tells her who she is, like that she's a fairy and everything, and fights her to the school to hone her abilities. I need to stop playing with my hair. You probably hear it in the mic. So there's literally no scene where Miss Faragonda finds her, and like they don't give any scene like that. Instead, they just jump you automatically to the school. How it does start is that Stella, she finds Stella and helps Stella out, and Stella's like, "Hey, you got Winx. You're a fairy," and tells her about the school and everything, and then starts all the shenanigans for going to school. No, we got it rushed and just automatically dropped her in the school. Gave us no backstory, no like plot, no nothing. Just dropped her automatically in the school and said, "Hey, you're a fairy and you're from Earth." Okay, this video is starting to drag on way too much. We're already at an hour and a half. I'm gonna speed through the rest of the characters. There's only like 8 more people, but I don't have much to say about most of them. The Trix. Let's talk about the Trix. So, I already talked about this earlier in the video, and I'm like really angry about it. They got rid of the Trix, the 3 witches. They are the descendants of the 3 ancestral witches that started everything and started like Bloom's like whole story. No, they got rid of all 3 of them and combined them into one girl named Beatrix. Not Beatrice with a C. They changed the C to an X, so it's Beatrix. I already explained that earlier, and I'm sorry I have to explain it again. It's like, and also they made her her element is air. Now, let me explain how stupid this is. They go on and talk about, air has the properties of speed, movement, and then also electrical properties. That is so stupid. When I think of air, I don't think of electricity. And it's because here's the thing. The three Trix. There's Icy, Stormy, and Darcy. Icy controls ice, obviously, because of her name. Stormy does the weather and the clouds and electricity. And Darcy is darkness. So, also, me going back to talking about Techna, you could have Techna be air and have her do electricity, but whatever. But you trade the 3 main villains of the entire series who keep coming back. You trade those 3 for one girl, and this girl only has one of the 3 powers, because literally all she does in the show is using electricity. She's like snarky, she's rude. I kind of like her as like an antagonist, I guess, but she's not really an antagonist apparently. But my biggest problem with this character is that she's not a witch. She's a fairy too. Literally, the Trix are supposed to be witches. That's their whole backstory. She's also technically a changeling like Bloom, but literally they made her a fairy. The Trixes would be caught dead if they were to be a fairy. They would never be a fairy, and you turn this girl into a fairy. She's supposed to be a witch. The only time we get mention of witches is when they talk about the Astrodel where Bloom was being captive or whatever, where she was kidnapped because she has the dragon flame, and they say that there's blood witches there. That's the only time we get mentions of witches. And let's talk about the school, because now I'm getting like actually heated about this. The school, there's 3 different schools. There is Althea for fairies, there's Cloud Tower for witches, and then there's Red Fountain for specialists. The specialists and the fairies own the same, like, they're on the same campus, and there's no witches. Like, and then I'm gonna go into this later, but like there's like no transformation. There's one transformation in the entire, or like at 6 episodes. I'm gonna get more into that later. But literally, I just can't. I can't. It just gets me mad. And then I'm just mad that they turned her into a fairy. She's supposed to be a witch, and she's a fairy. Netflix, explain. I want to know, why did you turn her into a fairy when she's supposed to be a witch? Okay, going on about Miss Faragonda. They call her Miss Doweling.
I don't know if that's Miss Faragonda's actual last name, but they call her Farah from time to time, the people who are close to her. So I'm gonna say this is Miss Faragonda. I absolutely do not like how they portrayed her. She seems like such a bitch. She seems like that one teacher who you know what I'm talking about. That one teacher that no one likes, who's like really strict and bitter and mean about every little thing. Like, even if you were to get like 100 on a test, she would look at you and like, you're not special. And she seems really rude. If it was her secretary, they also replaced her secretary with another guy. But we're not gonna talk about that character. But her secretary is supposed to be like the snooty one, like the one that how I described as Doweling just now. That's how her secretary is supposed to be. I forget what her name is. And they just make, literally, Miss Faragonda is supposed to be sweet and caring, and like she will be stern and like give like punishments and everything, but she's supposed to be like similar to, I guess, like your fairy godmother. She's like supposed to be nice, she's supposed to be caring, and they just have Miss Faragonda being like and then you know what they did? They done up and killed Miss Faragonda at the end of the episode of episode 6. The last episode, I can't speak. I'm so angry. They killed Miss Faragonda. I literally, after the show was done, 20 minutes later, I went, used the bathroom, came back, stood in the doorway. My friend said, "Hey, you okay?" All I could do was look at him like, they killed Miss Faragonda. That just hit me. How she died was like kind of funny, but like also, they killed Miss Faragonda, one of the most important characters to the plot in the cartoon, and they done up and killed her. Why? Okay, let's talk about Sky. I don't like how his character is. He's trying to, how I feel like how they're trying to write him to be desirable, but literally, like, he doesn't seem desirable. In the cartoon, I like how they portray Sky a lot better, because this is how it is. So also, they didn't add Brandon. Brandon is Sky's best friend, but they kept Riven, and no one really likes Riven, to be honest. And literally in the beginning, what they do, I know I keep saying literally, I'm sorry, but in the original cartoon, Brandon goes as Sky and Sky pretends to be Brandon, because Sky is the Prince of Heraklion, if y'all don't know. And he doesn't want to get special treatment because he actually wants to be a strong warrior, because some people be like, oh, you're only good because people go easy on you or you get special treatment or whatever. No, Sky doesn't want that, so he switches roles with Brandon and pretends to be Brandon. That's literally his... And he's not the Prince of Heraklion. Apparently his dad is dead. Spoiler alert, he's not dead. He's still alive somehow. And the guy who raised him apparently killed him, but didn't kill him, and now he's getting arrested for it. I don't understand any of this. It makes no sense. And apparently his dad's not the king of Heraklion. Why? Just, like, why do you have to be like, oh, this guy is perceived to be dead, and then bring him back last second? It's like, it was kind of like obvious that his dad wasn't dead, but why? It makes absolutely no sense. Like, Sky's supposed to be the Prince of Heraklion, supposed to be the best specialist at his school, and then, oh no. I don't like how they did Sky. Literally the only character that I think that they probably got right that's closest to the original is Riven. Because Riven is supposed to be the asshole character of the group. Of all the specialists, he's supposed to be the rude one. The one that's like, whatever. But they kind of get it right, and also at the same time, they make him worse than how he is in the cartoon. They basically make him a pothead, making him do drugs. He's smoking e-cigarettes, smoking weed, going outside the barrier to smoke weed. He is drinking, getting drunk, like, and then they also kind of make Riven homophobic. Literally, okay, so I'm going to talk about this next character, Dane, but Dane is the gay guy of the group, and literally there's nothing that leads us on to him being gay. Literally the only evidence that we get is that of Riven going, oh hey, so you were stalking my Instagram last night, because Dane liked one of his pictures. So another guy going on your page and liking one of your photos randomly makes him gay? Okay, I guess that's how it works now. I guess that's how it works. Hey, if you like someone's photo, apparently you're gay now. Literally, there's no evidence tying to Dane to like saying that he's gay or at least bisexual. Riven is just like poking fun at him, making jokes, picking on him. Like, of course, every show needs that one homophobic dude. And hi, I'm also gay, so I can I'm talking about this. You don't need to have a homophobe, and he's also kind of sexist too. Let me talk about that. Riven from the original would, but he wouldn't be this bad. He wouldn't be this horrible. You just took a character that's supposed to be bad and you made him unlikable. You made him worse. We don't always need to have someone who's sexist and homophobic in every oh my god. You know what? Let me stop talking about Riven because I'm gonna explode. Dane. Okay. I feel like his character is supposed to replace Helia, Flora's boyfriend, because Terra ends up getting a crush on Dane. But enough of that. We'll talk about that in a second. Dane seems like such a forced character, and I feel like they threw him in just so that they could have diversity in sexuality and in skin tone and everything. Because okay, hi, I'm gay. I like when there's a fruity character in a series. I'm there's my representation. There is my gay boy. There he is. That's my man. Dane is literally I feel like Dane was just there for sexual tension and just for diversity. That's literally his only role, because besides Riven picking on him for being gay and stuff, they make his I feel like they make his character more they try to put so much sexual tension between Dane and Riven, and I feel like they're trying to ship him or whatever with Dane, which is it always happens in a lot of shows where a gay person, their aggressive is their love interest. No! And I'm getting really heated about this. It's and especially episode 3, the sexual tension is so high. You're expecting them to go into a broom closet and get some stuff done, go do their taxes or whatever, if you know what I mean. But literally, it's just the whole series was leading up to that point where the sexual tension was really high, and then forget about it and bring it back up in episode 6 when their friend is unconscious underneath them and they're so hey, you into me? No, they don't. I feel like they don't do Dane justice. They could have made Dane, because Dane is a new original character. They could have made Dane such a good person, such a good character, but no, they're hey, let's just add a black gay dude just so we have some more diversity, and so that people can't be oh, there's not at least one gay character. Dane had the potential to be such a good character because he was so likable in the beginning, and then basically he gets high and drunk and then talks shit about Terra. Terra finds out, and then Terra's oh, we're not friends anymore. You ruined his character, literally. Why did you do that? Why did you do that? Dane had such great potential to be one of the best characters, and you basically see, this is why you need to have gay writers writing gay characters, because it's obvious that it's straight people writing this character being this is what gay people act like. No, that's not what gay people act like. And oh my god. The only thing I like about Dane is that they give him kind of a backbone when Riven talks shit about him or and is mildly homophobic towards him. He looks at him and he goes, fuck you. At least he can stand up, and that's one thing I like about Dane. But overall, I just don't like how they basically just have Dane there and just be yeah, whatever, he's a little fruity, I guess. And he does nothing that's fruity in the show. And also, I'm saying fruity because it's funny, but he literally, the only thing he does is one of Riven's pictures on Instagram, and I don't know why specialists and fairies and everything have Instagram on their planet when they're not on Earth, but that's a story for another time. Let's move on. Let's talk about Sam, Terra's brother.
I don't really have opinions about him. I like him. He's pretty cool. But I feel like he's only there to move Musa's plot line. He's not there to be like an actual character. Because his only magical ability is that he's able to like walk through walls. That's literally his only ability. And I feel like he's only there just to be a love interest for Musa. And it's like kind of upsetting because he could have been a really good character. He like seems sweet and all, but you know, makes no sense because literally, and also I feel like Musa only likes him because he's the only person that she has met that she's unable to really read his emotions, because she can read everyone's emotion on their face. And he's the only character where she's like, I don't know what he's thinking about. And he's like, I can't read his emotion. That's literally, I think, the only reason why Musa likes him is because she feels everyone's like emotions on a daily basis, that she has to like wear headphones to block it all out, and that's the one character she doesn't have to block herself out for, which is like kind of cute. But then it's like, make Sam more than just Terra's brother, make Sam more than just Musa's boyfriend, make him an actual character. And also I think they also just added him to be the only male fairy that we actually have a part of like the main cast. That's like, it makes no sense. Let's move on. Okay, I think this character's name is Soul Sylvia. I'm gonna just call him Sil. He's supposed to basically be the replacement for the teacher for the specialist. And that guy, I know he's supposed to be a little strict and everything. This man is so uncomfortable. Like, he's so strict. Literally, the specialists in this show seem like a dictatorship. It feels like they're forced to be specialists. It's not like, because usually anytime when someone goes to be a specialist, it's because they want to be. He basically forces these kids to be specialists, because he literally says in like his first line, he's like, oh, the reason why you're here is because either your family put you here because of your combat ability, or I personally selected you to be a part of the school because of your combat ability. It seems so forced. It feels like a draft, like how the military does it. It feels like a draft. It feels forced. It doesn't feel genuine, and it feels like I feel bad for these people who are being specialists, because obviously some of them just don't want to be there. Like Dane, he like makes jokes and everything because obviously Dane doesn't want to be there either, and I'm pretty sure Riven doesn't want to be there either because he's not the best fighter apparently. Like whatever, still whatever, you do you. I just don't like how the specialists are portrayed in this reboot. Let's talk about Rose. Don't really have anything to say about Rose. I think she's evil. That's all I gotta say about her. And there's like, she was apparently the most feared and respected fairy because she was like the strongest in her school. She doesn't seem that impressive. I feel like they're also gonna pull something and be like, oh, she's Rose's, Bloom is Rose's daughter or something, which doesn't happen in the original. They're probably gonna pull some dumb shit like that, and I'm not here for it. Don't have much to say about Rose. She just seems evil and gonna turn Bloom into an evil person. That's all I can say. Okay, since I already talked about I'm already done talking about all the characters. Now let's move on to the villains. I already talked about the Trix, Beatrix. I already talked about Rose. I want to talk about the burned ones. The burned ones, basically, I was even ranting to my friend. I was like, they gave us no backstory for why the burned ones are like, what are they? 2 seconds later, the show explained it to me, but they explained it in the very last 5 minutes of the show. From what I remember, and I'm too lazy to go like double check, but they were created because they used to be ancient warriors that I believe also had control of the dragon flame, or they became the burned ones. They were created from the dragon flame, and the only thing to destroy them is the dragon flame. So there you go. That's your explanation for the burned ones. They're ancient warriors created from the dragon flame. It's kind of stupid because it's like, why? The burned ones also just look very stupid in design wise. I was expecting something a lot better, and then they made this barrier to protect them from the burned ones, when actually the barrier is supposed to keep out non-magical creatures, but you know, they didn't do that. They just had it for the burned ones. So okay, Yeah, the burned ones are stupid. It makes no sense. They don't even have I wish they went in more detail why they were created. Like, okay, they were ancient warriors, but why were they created? Why were the ancient warriors created? Was there a war? And they kind of hint that there was a war, but they don't explain like what the war was about. So I really wish that they would have went into more detail and explained the actual origins of the burned ones. Who was the first burned one? What's the deal with the burned ones? Like, how do they get rid of the burned ones? And the thing with the burned ones are kind of like zombies in my opinion. If a burned one scratches you, you will get infected and you will either die an excruciating death or you will turn into a burned one. And the only way to stop it is there is a certain oil that they can make from plants that can help slow down the transformation and like ease the pain, but it will not go away until you kill the burned one that has striked you, which is it's like an interesting thing, but it just makes them feel like zombies. It's like you get bitten by a zombie, you're gonna turn into a zombie. You get scratched by a burned one, you're gonna get turned into a burned one. Like, it's not anything new. And usually burned ones are only by themselves. They hunt in packs of one, but then later towards the end of the series, they start running in packs of 2, 3, and they start going into groups until like they basically have like a little army just running around doing stuff. I don't know, the burned ones aren't really that interesting, and it seems like they're gonna be the only enemies and the only real villains besides probably Rose and Sky's dad and everything. It looks like that's basically gonna be the whole deal with them. It looks like they're just gonna be the only villains for the entire series, and it's kind of boring because each season there's supposed to be a new fairy transformation, which I'll get into that in a second, and there's also supposed to be a new villain, and I don't know, it just doesn't seem interesting. Okay, now it's time for the real drama and kaglama of this whole reboot. Everything else that I just talked about, this is much, much worse. Worse than not casting Techna, worse than getting rid of Flora, worse than the Trix being one person and being a fairy and not a witch, is the fairy transformation. Yes, I said it. The worst thing to come from this reboot are the fairy transformations. All the Winx Club fans growing up, their favorite thing that they anticipate from every season is the new transformation, the music that goes around with the transformation, and the origins behind the transformation and how to obtain the transformation and how each girl obtains their transformation. That is the biggest thing around Winx Club, because Winx Club is not Winx Club unless the girls transform into their fairy forms. They have their beautiful outfits, their gorgeous wings, and their new fairy powers. But did Netflix give that to us? Nope! They gave us nada. They gave us one fairy transformation, and it was very lackluster. What I wanted to see really bad was a beautiful version of, it didn't even have to be the exact original outfits. They could have spruced it up a little bit and changed it a little bit. I wouldn't have been as anal about it. There are literally a bunch of cosplayers, like especially if you look up Winx Club cosplays, there are a lot of gorgeous women and some men that do beautiful Winx Club cosplay of the original outfits, and they look so beautiful. And I would have been so excited to see professionals make professional costumes for these 5 women. Because I was so excited to see them in their fairy forms. But no, in the show, because I think maybe they had a budget issue. You know, maybe instead of having all these background characters and like extras and all this other stuff that they obviously shouldn't have spent their budget on, and actually spent it on, you know, the transformation, we would probably got the transformation, because they probably were doing budget cuts and decided, oh, in the show, Faragonda says fairy transformations and wings, because Bloom talks about how she hasn't seen anybody with wings yet. Apparently, transformation magic and
like wings have been lost in time for some reason. I don't remember the reason, or I don't even think they gave us a reason. Just fairy forms in general have just been lost in time. And then Bloom unlocks basically, so transformations were basically an ancient technique, an ancient like basically spell. And Bloom doesn't even know how to use magic that much. Gets her own fairy form. She uses an ancient transformation. Now, here are my issues with this. Number one, it's very lazy to just cut out the fairy transformations. Two, it's if you, oh my god, also the transformation that how they did it was so god awful that it just seems like a slap in the face. You should have just did no fairy transformation for this season if you were just gonna like do stuff like that. Because let me tell you the origins of the transformation stuff. So you have your basic form, you have your Winx form. That is your basic fairy form. Your next fairy form is a power-up, which is your Charmix, and that's for overcoming like an obstacle with yourself, whether that be like something that challenges you on like a daily. And then the next fairy form after that, but also the Charmix is a limited form. You can only use it as like a power-up and everything, and it wastes a lot of magic, yada yada. And then technically the final fairy form is your Enchantix form. And that's usually, you have to save someone from your home planet or your hometown or something like that, from where you come from, usually in a form of a sacrifice. I might be making up the sacrifice part, but usually all the girls sacrifice something to save someone. And there are other forms beyond Enchantix, but those forms are harder to obtain, so usually Enchantix is the final form that a fairy will get in their lifetime. No one usually goes past Enchantix. The next form beyond past Enchantix is Believix, and then you have Harmonix, Sirenix, and then a new form Bloomix, and a new form Cosmix. We're not going to talk about that. We can talk about that in another video if anybody's actually curious about all this, or you can just like, watch the show. But so you're supposed to have your base Winx form. Each form, if I'm not lazy and I'll put up a picture of the wings, I'll use I think Bloom's wings as an example. With each form you get more powerful, and each wings is supposed to represent you getting more stronger, and each wings are able to do different things and be stronger. For example, your base wings, they're not as good, they're just normal little wings. But if you go to your Enchantix form, they're stronger. They can handle, like, for example, in Lymphea, there are really strong winds that guide leaves and everything. Fairies cannot fly because they will, like, get lost. They will, like, literally have no control. Enchantix wings can even, like, handle the strongest of winds. The Believix wings are able to teleport, go faster, to figure out the past, like, all this other stuff. The wings are supposed to get stronger. And the wings that they gave us, oh my god. This is technically supposed to be the base form, the Winx form. And the reboot they gave us, oh my god, it's I hopefully have pictures up comparing the wings. Bloom in the remake gets like fire wings. Like, no, okay, yeah, she's a fire fairy. Why does she have fire wings? That's not how it's supposed to happen. Literally, her wings are supposed to be simple, and then, oh my god, it just feels like a slap in the face because they're trying to give us something that we wanted, but no. And then I was also expecting like the original music or like a remake of the music to like sound like really nice and funky. Oh my god, okay. Oh, my phone is, no. My phone's broken. Not really, but someone has made an edit putting the original Winx transformation for the base form over this transformation. Oh my god, it's so bad. I was showing my friend Spencer, and I quote said, how does it putting the original music over this transformation make the transformation look a whole lot worse? And I absolutely agree. Like, someone also, I will try to link below. Someone has put every transformation music over this transformation, and it's, oh my god. The transformation is so horrible. I will literally, I will try to put a clip down below the transformation so you can actually see how like horrible it is. Oh, I cannot stress to you enough. So this is how it happens. How I believe how they did it. So they have Aisha said, okay, I'm gonna create a field of water around you because she has to conjure up as much magical power as possible to get this form. Aisha says, okay, I'm gonna put a sphere of water around you so that you do not destroy the whole forest and everything. But that is just an excuse for them to put a green screen backdrop behind her for the transformation. And Bloom is transforming, and then in the background it's just water. Now here's my thing. In the original transformations, the background is not they put a different background between every girl's transformation, either being like a blank blue screen or like particle effects. Literally, they could have did something like that for Bloom for her transformation in the reboot, but they didn't think of that. They were like, let's put Aisha's water so we have an excuse to put a green screen, when you could have put a green screen without the water and we wouldn't have come like clocked you on this. And then, oh my god, basically she gets engulfed in fire. The fire goes around her, and then she like sprouts fire wings, and then she starts fighting the burned ones for 5 seconds, and then the wings go away. It was like all that effort for 5 seconds with her with wings? Like, no. Oh my god. How they ended up doing it, which I'm pretty sure if I'm right, they had her harnessed up in front of a green screen, and they took a picture. They had about, I believe, 50 cameras lined up, and they all took a picture simultaneously. I can't say that word. So that the editors were able to make a basically turn her into a 3D object. Since they had a picture of her from every angle, they were able to make her into a 3D object, if that makes sense. There's an episode in America's Next Top Model. I think it's English versus British, or England or America versus England, or something like that. I believe that's like the first episode, and they explain it in there, so I pretty much understand how this is happening. And then they basically had her rotating around and then putting the fire around her. How I would have did it, personally, if you would have did this, you should have had her hanging in her fairy outfit and in her normal outfit in the same pose, and just had the fire going around the normal one, engulf her body with the fire, and then the fire explodes, revealing the fairy outfit. They could have did that, but I hit the mic, I'm sorry. They could have did that, but no, that's just a little too much work. Or, you know, they could have had her engulfed in flames, had the her fairy outfit already on, and slowly got rid of the flame. So how the flame was wrapping around her in the animation, they basically could have reversed it and revealed her fairy outfit. Because in some of the transformation, the girls are perceived to be naked, and their outfit just magically appears on them. They could have did something similar to that, but no, they ruined it. This is my biggest takeaway from this whole reboot, is that I was so excited for these fairy transformations. I wanted to hear the original music or a remake of it, or maybe a new song. The song that they decided to put on it, it sounds like, if you're on TikTok, if you ever hear that audio where it's like, you need to stop doing this, and you need to stop doing this. This is unhealthy. You need to stop romanticizing, blah, blah, blah. Like that, type of music, that's literally, I think it might even be the same sound or the same music that they use for this transformation, and it's god awful. I was so excited to see, and there's also in media with the wings and everything where they make the wings look realistic and stuff. I was so excited for that, and then nope. We get this god awful girl in a turtleneck and a leather jacket with some fire wings. Like, ow, I just hit my leg really hard. I'm just so disappointed because they had such a good opportunity, and also they had Netflix money, not on a budget money. They had Netflix money, so I'm pretty sure if they needed an extra, let's say $1,000 for a budget or something for the outfit, which the outfit probably wouldn't have cost that much, they could have did it. Literally, there are people on Instagram and stuff that do Winx Club cosplay, and they don't spend a lot of money, and their cosplays look bomb. It looks legit, and they just couldn't spend an extra few dollars to make a cosplay for the actress to like actually be in Bloom's outfit, because Bloom's base outfit is really pretty on its own, and they could. It's so annoying. Let me just move on, because the fair. I can't. This section is gonna be miscellaneous things. It's not really a section. This is just all the stuff that I probably haven't like talked about and stuff. The ending just, I think I already talked about it a little bit. It just looks so, I already know if they were to do a second season, it's gonna be god awful. It literally looks like it's turning into Divergent, and Divergent, I like the movie and stuff, but the ending just doesn't seem like original. It just seems like everything's gonna turn into a problem, and Rose and Sky's dad and Luna are gonna fuck shit up, and I don't want that. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like Winx Club. And I urge you, please go watch the original and understand where I'm coming from, because the original is such a good show. The first beginning few seasons, it's meant for everyone, not just girls, not boys. It was meant for everyone. It has, if you look really closely into the show, there are some mature plot lines, and it's like some stuff that is relatable to people, especially now. Like how I talked about all the characters' traumas. There are some underlining themes. They literally even, kill one of the main characters that was supposed to marry a certain character, but we're not gonna get into that because I don't want to spoil it. But you should watch it. I cried over that person's death. But yeah, please, because I know right now the ratings for the show are really bad. I know, like, for example, for the reboot, on Rotten Tomato, it has like 33 last time I checked out of 100. It's so disappointing that they're nostalgia baiting. I know you're trying to get a quick buck, but if you're gonna try to do a quick buck, make it something that people would actually enjoy. It's something that people would actually love. Because this is a show that a lot of people have grown up with. I've grown up with it. I had to secretly watch it so that no one would make fun of me. I love that show this much. And being able to talk about it publicly, even though no one's probably going to watch this video because it's almost 3 hours long, it hurts. It really hurts, because this is such a good show, and for you just to slap it together and be like, it's Winx Club. It's not Winx Club. If they were to do a season 2, they need to fix everything that they did wrong. Make these characters less bitchy. Actually reveal Beatrix to be a witch and not a fairy. And bring Techna back, bring Flora back, have Terra be a side character. Or make Riven less of an asshole. Make Sky less weird. And it's really heartbreaking, and you probably hear it in my voice. It's just really devastating, because I grew up with the show and I loved the characters, and you can even say I looked up to these characters. And also the show is such a creative inspiration to me that I'm even designing a character that for a game that I want to make. There's a character that is a fairy. The main reason, my main inspiration for her was Winx Club. If I really want him to do a reboot, but I want him to do the reboot good. So Netflix, if you're out there and you're listening, you should just get rid of this first season and pretend it didn't happen. Redo it, but redo it the right way. Also, I want to talk about the setting for a second. You did this at this like really ugly looking place, when in fact I believe that there's a Winx Club theme park, and they built a replica of Althea the school. I don't know if it's still around. If it's still around, why didn't you decide to build there? They literally made a replica of the school, and you could have did everything there. And maybe if there wasn't like room for certain things, you can shoot the their dorms, you could film it somewhere else, but had all the main action happening at Althea because you had a replica of it already. If it's still up. If it's not still up, then don't mind what I just said. It just like also looks like a bootleg Harry Potter. It just like doesn't seem right. And then the specialist. I talked about the specialist being like a dictatorship. Now, in the show, they had like crystal swords, like swords that look like they're made out of crystal or glass or something. And then they were also wearing like spandex, like spandex suits, and they had capes and everything. And then they're wearing like normal clothing, and then they have just one piece of armor. I don't even think it's covering their heart, and they have one blade, and it's an actual blade. You couldn't have them having like crystal swords. It probably would have looked a little weird, but that's what they had. That was their weapons, and you just have them like. One thing that I do like that they did is that instead of there just being female fairies and male specialists, there are female and male specialists and male and female fairies. But I wish we had more male fairies that were like introduced, and maybe like a female specialist that was introduced into the plot, instead of like being like, oh, there's like, you brought that there for like diversity and conclusion and stuff. Be like, oh, they're here, but you don't really introduce any characters that are important. Like you give us one male fairy, but his powers are like stupid. He can go through walls. You can give us at least one female specialist since they were there. Like, I know me and my friend got surprised because I told my friend all about like the stuff, and we saw a female. We paused real quick. We were like, oh, they got females. Hell yeah, this is epic. And I don't know. It's just weird. I'm trying to think of, I'm reading my list really quick to see if there's anything. I think I already said this, but it looks like a bootleg Harry Potter. Second page. They like quote like Tinkerbell a lot for some reason. Like they talk about Tinkerbell, and I'm like, why is Tinkerbell being involved? Did she do something wrong? And then they also kind of make some sexist remarks, in my opinion, when they talk about Lord of the Flies, and then they're in the bedroom, and then the dad's like, oh, it's gonna turn to Lady of the Fly. I don't know. It just sounded really like sexist to me for some reason. And yeah, it was really weird. What they did good besides adding females to specialists and males to fairies, Terra is a really well written character. I like her. She's really like, she's one character that I think in the longest time that I actually relate to. Where she's really insecure, she'll start speaking up fast. She'll start speaking faster and louder sometimes when she's like insecure and doesn't know what she wants to like she's scared that people are judging her. I relate to that because I can get like that sometimes. I will really start talking faster and start talking like louder and everything, and you'll hear me losing my breath because I'm like scared, I'm panicking, and I always care about what people think about me. Literally, I could be hanging out with my friends, we could have a really great day. The second I leave, I start having like doubts. I'm like, I probably said something wrong, they're mad at me, they're gonna kill me later. Like that's Terra, and it's really relatable, and I really love how they did Terra. I just wish that she was a separate character and they added Flora. That's my only problem. But besides that, Terra is such a great character. Dane's all right. They kind of ruined him with all the sexual tension, and then he doesn't get any. Let's talk about that. They have him up to be they have all this sexual tension between him and Riven, and they don't do nothing. And then basically he hurts Terra by saying, like, calling her fat and everything and saying shit, and then like disregarding her feelings. And instead of going and apologizing to her, he like starts like doing more drugs and stuff. And I don't like that. You're ruining a character that you introduced. Another good thing, I don't know. I really can't think of anything else. Overall, I'm not even gonna give a rating to the show because, you know, I think my feelings say that. Everything I've said speaks for that. So yeah, if you haven't watched the reboot yet, I highly recommend that you watch the original before you go to the reboot, because I want you to meet these characters and understand the plot of the show, how they were meant to be portrayed, instead of this
horrible, darker version and grim version. Like, there's like not even one bright pop of color anywhere. It's just horrible. It does not read as Winx Club. It reads as, I'm kind of Riverdale and Mean Girls, and we happen to have, like, it's like kids that happen to have magic. It doesn't read as Winx Club. It just reads as something completely different. You know what they should have did instead of just nostalgia baiting? If they wanted to name all these they should have basically changed all these characters' names and make them different names, because it doesn't follow any of like the rules of the original Winx Club. They only just use familiar names from the original series. If they wanted to and just made all the characters different characters and didn't link this to Winx Club at all, the show would be pretty solid. It'd be pretty good. I probably would want another season, but just for the simple fact that it's nothing like the original and they basically are ruining people's childhoods, that's why I really don't like the show. That's why it sucks. If they would have just said, this is a different show called Fate, I would probably want a second season. But since it's not Winx Club, I don't want a second season.
Okay, so we're pretty much at the end of the video. I said my piece about how I feel about the reboot and all this. If you watched the reboot, comment down below how you felt about it, because I actually want to hear other people's opinions. I will be linking down below other people who have done reviews of the show and how they feel about it, so that you can get multiple opinions of the show, because a lot of people who are making reviews right now are original Winx Club fans. So yeah, if you by any chance disagree with how I feel, I know I was all over the place and everything, and I wasn't that organized as I thought I was gonna be. Comment down below, because I'm actually curious to see if anybody actually liked the reboot, because I don't really see that many people actually really enjoying it. If you would like me to like go more into detail about certain things, or you have any other video ideas, please let me know, and I hope you all are having a great day. I will have all my social medias linked down below. I will try to link other people down below to go check out their videos. I already know no one's gonna watch this because this video is like 2.5 hours long. Question of the day. From the original cartoon, if you've watched it, who is your favorite Winx Club girl or favorite character? And if you only watched the reboot or you've watched the reboot, who is your favorite character from the reboot? Tell me down below, because let's have a chat, because I think my favorite from the cartoon, aside from Roxy, I really I like Stella, I like Flora, and from the specialist, maybe Brandon, because he's cute. Yeah, and if you were a fairy, what would your, I guess, element be, or what would you be the fairy of? Those are my 3 questions of the day. Let me know down below. I will see you all next week with an actual speed paint, because I did 2 talking videos in a row, so yeah, sorry about that. I will see you all next week.